Welcome everyone, we're so glad you made the choice to watch our show this evening and joining us for another episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast with your hosts Steve Hodgson and Dr. Eric L. Davis. Welcome to the Your Life Matters Show podcast. We ask that you please note that the information presented in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and does not constitute medical advice. It is essential to consult with a qualified healthcare professional for any medical concerns, diagnosis, or treatment. This podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice, and any actions taken based on the information presented are at your own risk. We are so glad you made the choice to watch our show this evening and join us for a brand new episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast. Let's watch what this evening's podcast is all about.
Folks, so if you're actually wondering, I did change my background just now, okay, and a little bit of a glitch there, because I guess we're talking about ghosts. You know, we should have stuff. So that looks like something out of a zombie movie, more than, more than a ghost thing. But for some reason,
scary to me.
Yeah, they seem to get together now, zombies and ghosts. You know, and they have a ghost walk. They call it a ghost walk, you know, on Thanksgiving, Halloween. But most of the time, it's people dressed up as zombies walking through the street. It's like, that's not a ghost walk, but okay. So anyway, where do we leave off?
You were talking about the scariest thing that you've seen, and then basically, I guess one of the last questions I would have would be, if a person does see something, what should they do? Like, what's their next best step?
Okay, first, what we always tell when someone would call us up, my wife usually took phone calls because ye of little patience sometimes is not really good to be on the phone with stuff like that. But I took a number of calls. We actually had a questionnaire sheet. But one of the things we would tell people is take out a notebook, okay, and write down what you saw, the time you saw it, and the day you saw it. Okay, and keep track of that because there might be a pattern behind that you're not even realizing, that's going on.
Yeah.
Who's home during the time it happened? It's really too bad. I know I saw the video. I had it in one of my folders. We were doing an investigation in Indiana, someplace there, and we were all sitting around in this living room. A big living room people had. And it was these two older women and, one husband was there. And they were so intent on paranormal stuff. And I remember it was Jen, myself, there was Robin and Jake Davis. They were also part of it. Yeah. And I remember Elvin stayed in the living room and the three of us went inside of another room. And all of a sudden we hear Jake say, Steve, hello, come, and we come running in. It's like, what? The light went on by itself.
Yeah.
In the room. And I was like, really? It's like, yeah. Now, I started thinking to myself, okay, wait a minute. I know that the remote, because when we would start another session after a break, she would reach over and had a remote right there that turned the lights off. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I got a camera pointing right towards that side of the room.
Yeah.
Okay. The video shows her holding on to the remote like when she's sitting in a recliner and she's moving it around in her hand a little bit. You see her moving and playing with it, and then all of a sudden hit the button, whoo! And then I can go shocked that the light went on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always say you want to make sure who's in the house. Because if had that in situation, we've had one where the homeowners wanted us there, was up in Anderson. There was a problem going on in their house, paranormal. Yeah. And because there was two women, I They were actually getting married in a few months. They invited us to their wedding. We just never weren't able to go. But really nice people. But at the beginning, you don't know who's coming to your house. And
Yeah.
vice versa, even for us, we don't even know where we're going. Okay. I usually like to have somebody else, another guy who's at least like Elvin was perfect because we had each other's back if something
Yeah.
happened right away. But it was the New Year's Day. I remember it was January 1st, that night when we went to do it. Not New Year's Eve, but the day. And they had the brother was there. And the brother was just a wise ass. Okay, there's just no other way to put it around it. He
Yeah.
kept making believe it was almost like Zach Bagans. Make believe he was possessed and all this stuff. And we took a break and I was getting really ticked off. I always said this, and I think I've said this even tonight, where people forget there's cameras. We set up cameras around the house. Like that woman with the remote, she forgets there's a camera pointing right at her.
Yeah.
Okay, when she's doing that. So he's in the back and he's talking to his wife on the phone during the break. And I actually heard him say it. Said, "Oh yeah, you should see I'm playing with these people. They think, make them believe I'm possessed and everything else and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff." I was like, "All right, dude, we'll take care of you in a minute." Okay, so when we went back to start, I was like, we turned off the lights. I was like, all right, I said, here's the rule. Not to them, but like supposedly talking to the spirit of the place.
Yeah.
I was like, you bother him one more time. One time you bother him, we're done. We're going to pack up our stuff and we're going to leave, and that's it. And she's not going to get any help whatsoever. Just once. Okay? You've had your warning. Well, of course, now he can't do anything because his sister will break his legs because she was like twice his size and stuff. And, always be aware of who's in the house with you when you're writing this stuff down.
Yeah.
Um, what time of the day it is. People always ask us, the main question we used to be asked was, why do you do the investigations at night? And why do you do with the lights off? Or ghosts only come out at night or when the lights are off? No. At night, first off, outside is quieter.
Yeah.
Okay. Number two, if you turn off all the lights, you heighten your senses. Your hearing is now super hyper.
Mhm.
Okay. And you're seeing now, if you see something move, you'll really see something move. Okay. A light is something going across the room. You're going to see
Yeah.
it. Okay. That's why we always did not the ghosts aren't around during the day. They are around during the day. Trust me, I can vouch for it. It's happened to me during the day. But keep track of all of that. And if it's a pattern and it's not something that just happened once, then call a paranormal team.
Mhm.
Do a little bit of research. I want to say that 90% of the morons are gone out of the field, okay?
All right.
Because it's not, big on TV like it used to be
Yeah.
anymore. And it will come back again. There's no question in my mind, but it's no longer this fun thing that people wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay? So you got rid of a lot of the phonies. Those that have been around, if you see someone that's been around 10, 15 years, okay, there's a reason they've been around 10, 15 years. Okay,
Yeah.
and are still getting cases. These are people that really care. And if you're not sure, heck, send me an email, through the website and stuff like that. I'll find you a group in your area.
Yeah.
There's no question. I have connections everywhere. Okay, I will find a group that's fine for that, that will help you. Then you can tell them, hey, I've kept a log
Yeah.
of the activity, where it's happened, in what room it happened, to his home, time of day of the week, and stuff. And that will help a group tremendously and stuff because if there's something that happens 3 a.m. every single night, as an
Yeah.
investigator, if you tell me that chair down in the basement at 3 o'clock moves every single night, we go back down there and it's moved, and it happens around 3 o'clock. We hear the noise, we go down there and it's moved. Guess what? I'm going to set up cameras at
Yeah.
that chair, okay, and watch at 3 o'clock in the morning to see if that chair moves. Okay, now if you tell me it doesn't move at 3 o'clock in the morning, people say, why were we leaving around 12, 1 o'clock? Okay, I think Paranormal State or something had, the dead hour or something was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to use the BS word. Okay. There is no such thing as a dead hour, folks. Okay. If there's ghosts don't wait to 2, 3 in the morning to start to bother you. Okay, they're probably bothering you all day, but there's so much distractions and so much noise, thunderstorms as we saw there. Right now the sun is out and it's like 90 something degrees, but that is Florida. But um, you know, the groups want to know what was going on, and there's reasons for that they want to know. Call a good group in. Make sure before you start that they are going to supply you evidence of their investigation. You don't know how many groups. We used to go back, Jen and I used to, and sometimes one or two other members of the group, we used to go back to the person's house about 2 or 3 weeks later after we reviewed all the evidence.
Yeah.
And we would go back and show them first off what we caught. And if it was video, I had a DVD for them. If it was audio, I had a CD of all that stuff. Happened
Yeah.
in their house. And there were people that said, we had another group in here, never heard from them again
Yeah.
after the thing was over, and we called them and they never called us back. Make sure that they're going to talk to you, because if they have that evidence, like you said earlier, if you can show some kind of scientific evidence that there are voices that you're hearing inside the house,
Yeah.
then they're not crazy, at that point, or it's mass hallucination, one of the two, because people are picking up that stuff and there are things going on in your home. It's so important to do it the right way, take steps the right way. And if you get someone that's on there and they're demanding things, they don't want you inside the home when they're there, don't take them. You know what? The last thing I want is 2 days later somebody to say, hey, my watch is missing.
Right.
That was in a dresser
Yeah.
upstairs, okay? And you guys are upstairs and now it's gone. Okay? No, sorry. You're with us. Every room we go into, one of the homeowners is following us. We'll split you up if we're splitting up, and you're going to follow the thing.
Yeah.
So you're watching us at all times. That's going on inside the room. And if they don't want you in the house, worry about it, because they may not be telling you the truth or what's going on. The fact is, it happens when you're there. So you're actually a good drawer for whatever the spirits are to come in.
Yeah.
Okay, them telling you you can't come in, come on, they're play acting. And the third thing is, if they're recording the entire thing as a show, whether even if it's on YouTube, like we're doing podcast on YouTube,
Yeah.
but if they're in your house and they're recording it and they're going to show it as an episode of their show, get out of there. Okay, throw them out. Don't even let them into your house. Okay, because they're going to phony fake stuff all over the place.
They're looking for
because they
something to
want
publish
ratings.
on. Yeah.
Okay, and that's all it's going to come down to. And I hate phony paranormal investigators. It makes us look really bad. And you know what? And we worked hard. We would do presentations in libraries. It happened one year. We did it in Greensburg. Okay, because we knew the librarian that was there.
Yeah.
Well, it went over so well. We had standing room only, that she let the other libraries know that, hey, there's this paranormal group that we know, Steve and Jen and stuff, that will do these things. Next thing you know, the following year, North Vernon, Columbus, Madison, all these towns are calling us up. Indianapolis, it's all what North Webster was another one. And me, like a moron, I was like, oh yeah, I can fit you in. You had a calendar for them and put them in on a Friday night. Didn't look up that North Webster was 4 hours away.
Oh no. Yeah.
Okay, so we had to drive, literally, we had to leave at like noon. I had to shut my business down, leave at noon to drive up there to do like an hour and a half presentation and then drive 4 hours back. Okay, but though we did get interesting investigation out of it. But, we'd have standing room only in Lawrenceburg. We had to postpone, thing was supposed to start at 6:30. We didn't start to 7:00 because there was 120 people.
Wow.
Showed up for the presentation.
That's awesome.
And the library was scurrying around trying to find seats for people. And of course, I'm sitting there just like talking, waiting for the go ahead. Okay, then we can start. And they're running in, and more people are coming in. And I'm thinking to
Wow.
myself, this has got to be against fire codes. All
Yeah.
these people inside this room, okay? Because literally we had people standing up around the walls of the presentation. So, yeah, it could be interesting. Paranormal is like such a great thing. I mean, it really is. You know, if you're doing it right and you got the right people, you can learn so much from it. I mean,
Yeah.
I miss it. I still talk to Elvin a lot. I talk to him at least
Yeah.
twice a week on the phone because we're good friends. And, you know, he's like, when are you coming back to Indiana to come visit? Well, when my wife graduates, you know, and
Yeah.
she's out of school or clinicals and stuff, we'll go down because we like to see the grandkids. You know, we have 4 grandkids. We don't see them that often.
Yeah.
And, you know, even from there, I'd like to travel to New York. Hopefully, my dad's still kicking. He's 93. Yeah, I'd like to go see him and stuff down there too. And while we're in Indiana, we're going to do some investigations because we all miss it. I mean, we
Yeah.
really seriously miss doing it. Now,
That's
I'm
cool.
going to show you why. Okay. We have something that I've never shown on video somewhere. I've done them in presentations, but this is the first time I'm actually going to share this publicly on the web.
Your
Okay.
Life
So,
Matters exclusive right here.
yes, it is an exclusive. Okay. So, this is up there on the screen. Now, that was the name of our group, Professional Paranormal Investigations. And that is the website, professionalparanormalinvestigations.com. It's still there. If you're in Florida and you have a problem and you're around my area, you know, I might still be able to come out and help you. Okay, on that. Now, okay, I went too fast. Oh, I can go back. Sorry. This was a picture in, there's a mansion in Hartford City. I just thought it was the old haunted mansion. Okay, I can't remember the actual name of it. And that's Elvin's daughter and his son-in-law in the background. And they came with us on the investigation. They just took a picture in front of the mirror. But I want you, can you see my mouse when it's moving
Yeah.
around there? Okay,
Yeah. I
good.
can.
Oh, okay, now I want you to see that, and I want you to see that. Now, the next image. Okay, that was the thing right here and right here. There's like almost like a face in the mirror. That's not in the mirror. After she took the picture, she saw it and we went back to the mirror. There is markings on the mirror. As you see going back here, there is marking, but not right there. And
Yeah.
if you look at it, that's a different kind of like stain if it would have been stained than the other stain that's on the mirror. And she just did that just from taking a picture.
Yeah.
Okay, now I said later I was going to talk about the black mist and stuff that we have there. Um, there is a phenomena, and we'll be sitting inside of a room. Let's say I'll be sitting here, and Eric will be sitting like 10 feet away from me. And all of a sudden, this black darkness falls upon the room. And literally, if it comes in between us, I will not be able to see the back of his head if we're sitting facing the same way. Okay. And this is darkness that comes into the room. This is when there's a paranormal entity. And I'm going to show you the same distance. This is what it should have looked like. Okay, same flash, same lights off and everything else. And that's what it looked like. It
Wow.
actually darkens the camera and there was something coming in. This was one of the
Interesting.
wildest investigations we ever did because when we got there and couplet brought us there and they picked the night, they had gotten married that afternoon. This was their honeymoon.
Oh, wow.
I still remember sitting there saying to Jake, "What's going? What did she just say? We got married? Okay,
Yeah.
this afternoon." They're like, "Yeah, we just got married this afternoon." This is our, you know. I was like, "Well, you know, we're not leaving the cameras for your wedding night." Okay. um, now we talked about pareidolia.
Yeah.
Okay, and we haven't explained this episode. I guess I should. Pareidolia is when your brain literally sees patterns in, you know, a bunch of nothingness, and our brains are programmed that way. That if we see different things, and the way to think about it, How many times have you looked up in the clouds and you thought you saw a face in the clouds, or panda
A
bear or
lot.
something in the yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pareidolia. Your mind is making that up. Now, this is taken, and it's a little blurry because I had to blow it up. For some reason, I didn't have the original in my file. This is at South Pittsburgh Hospital. Well, we were waiting to get the people to show up to let us in. Elvin was walking around taking pictures, and he took a picture up at this room. And this, you can see the eyes and the face that's behind this. Um, there's the face again. Same window. Now, as you notice, you can see the sun coming through the trees. Okay, so is that pareidolia or is that a face? Now, all I can tell you is the activity inside this room that was in there was off the charts that night. The stuff that was going on inside that room was unbelievable. So, is it pareidolia or is it not? I'll go to the same thing with this. Okay, this is at the old hospital that we used to investigate at.
Wow.
Where I told you that dark shadow. I mean, that's a face. I'm sorry. Okay, that's just a straight face. And actually, in this, if I remember, if I had zoomed into this right up here, the face, there's another face here. Now, the interesting thing about that face, or even there's another face here, if you want pareidolia wise, there's the two eyes, the forehead, the nose down to the lips and stuff.
Yeah.
But that face looked like the owner's son who had died in a car accident.
Oh,
I mean, literally, if you overlaid the face to that, it matched up perfectly.
man.
Okay, so is it pareidolia or is it something that's going on? We were in a break and Jen had a camera and just turned around and took a picture, and that's what she caught. Now, this is the same hospital. We opened the front door of the hospital. As you can see, Jen is taking a picture there. Okay, now there's some dust and stuff coming out because there was a lot of dust that came out of that place. But what is this? All around this. That's actually not solid, but it's got stuff behind it there. I mean, what is that coming out of the doorway? There's something, that black shadow that I was talking about. This actually greeted you at the door. Whatever it was that was there. I mean, I cannot make heads and tails out of what that is and why we're seeing that. It's not a reflection because, there's no doors not open all the way.
Yeah.
So what is that? I have no clue. Now, this is actually what I find one of the things. This is the same hospital. We had gotten the keys in the afternoon to do the investigation that night. And Jen and I were just walking around. We had our cameras and we're walking past the laundry room. Now, this hospital goes way back. The nurses used to sleep in the hospital. They used to work like 3 or 4 days and on and 3 days off. And they had their own laundromats, the laundry where they used to do the laundry. And in fact, off to the side here, there's another little laundry room too. Well, Jen snapped the picture, okay, which is this picture. I was standing right next to her. A second later, I snapped this picture. Same
That's
type of
wild.
camera. It's the same Kodak Instamatic camera that they had there. And mine has this face in the door. Okay, now I can absolutely tell you, I thought I was a good graphic designer. I don't think I'd be that good that could get that in there. I mean, I had that actually
Yeah.
checked by so many people, experts in the field, and they check pixels and everything else. And that's part of the picture. That's not added to the picture. That is part of the picture. Now, at the same time we stopped that picture, we heard somebody running down the hallway. So we turned around and ran after, to see what it was. There was no one there. It wasn't until I got home that night that, that afternoon, that when I unloaded the camera, that I saw that in the thing. I was like, oh my God. And we tried everything, folks, to debunk it that night. Okay, for like a half hour, and they couldn't debunk. So now I'm going to go into some audio. Um, I'm going to ask if people have, you get to your computer, turn up the volume. I'll try to raise the volume, in editing a little bit. But this was in a room by itself. Nobody was in the room, and you hear it in the background. Somebody saying hello. Okay. Now we have another one. And what I talked about, we didn't want people to whisper. Okay, you can hear that, right, Eric? That's playing through there.
If we play it again?
Okay.
I'm not hearing it through here.
Okay, but that's why I
Right?
was asking, because
Yeah,
I want to
sorry.
make sure that Zoom is actually sharing this. Hold on, let me stop the share a second. Because remember, we found out this afternoon
Yeah.
that, okay, that's why. Okay, it's not shared sound. So I'm going to go back a
Okay.
second. Oh, I need to share the screen first. Share sound. Okay, I'm going to go back one, and you tell me
Okay.
the hello.
Now I can hear it.
Okay, good. Okay, that's why I asked you, because remember this
All right.
morning
Yeah.
we found that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is the whisper that, and sometimes they're answering questions that we're asking in the other room,
Wow. Okay.
because sometimes you hear us, but see, they're whispering. She has.
Yeah.
Now, this was in the boys' bedroom. We never allowed children at our investigations, only for the sake that I'm not going to scar some child for life
Oh
over
yeah.
something that scares the living daylights out of them. Okay, that's just not cool to do. So if you were under 18, you were not part of an investigation. You had to leave. And we would tell parents that if we got there and the kids there, we were gone. We would just leave. We wouldn't set up nothing. So this is from one of the rooms. Hear it again? It's a little child go, Mom? Mom? Okay. Here's another one.
Wow.
Okay, and we got,
Hello.
they're actually saying
Wow.
hello there, Yeah, the volumes are up on this. Now, this is at the Crump Theater, which is still closed in Columbus. Okay, I believe so.
Yeah.
I got the theater opened, okay, for paranormal investigations after probably you had played there. Okay,
Yeah. Probably.
yeah, when
Yeah.
you had played there. But, I was doing the website for them, and I was like, they let us investigate like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, you're losing big money by not doing this.
Yeah.
And they were making like $800 to $1,000 a month by letting people in there. And it wasn't until there was a new mayor that took over, and he didn't want people in the building for whatever reason, and he had the fire marshal come in and condemn the building. So
Wow.
nobody could be in there anymore. But in the meantime, they were paying expenses. They were paying bills, by stuff being there. So this is loud. You'll hear this well.
Wow.
I mean, there was no one in there. We were all downstairs under the stage. There's a little basement under the stage, and that's where every one of our investigators was when we were.
Wow.
Okay, this one was actually at my house in Westport, Indiana. We were hearing voices during the night, and I set up a recorder. And this was like around 3, 4 in the morning. I mean, there's actually a voice. So I don't know who was going to get a lawyer. This I think was at the hospital. You have to go for Charlie. Hello. You're going to hear Jen ask a question. This was at the old hospital. Now, a little follow-up story. There was one of our investigators who worked at the daycare, and while she was downstairs, she felt someone pull on her pant leg, like the little kids did inside the
Yeah.
place. and she looked down, there was no one there. So Jen asked the question.
You were wrapping your arms around Jamie's legs.
I mean, this is what I was.
You were wrapping your arms around Jamie's legs.
And it's a guy,
Man.
too, that's actually, which is even freakier. Okay.
You were wrapping your
Sometimes ghosts will say okay, in the background, don't touch me. These are really wild when you're listening back to audio and all of a sudden you hear it's like, what was that? Yeah, you're listening with headphones on. Now, we also did 2 episodes of My Ghost Story caught on camera. We actually, Adam was with us.
Yeah.
We got flown to California for that. And this was one of the investigations. It was funny because we hadn't contacted My Ghost Story. The guy who owned the house contacted My Ghost Story. And then the producer contacted me. And to be honest, I almost didn't even remember what investigation she was talking about.
Really?
So we went back and I pulled out all the files on it. And that was so many years earlier that we had better equipment to, better filters and stuff.
Yeah.
And this was right at the beginning. We were setting up and there was a recorder downstairs. And this is what it said. And all we heard was, it said voices on it until I listened back to it. It says, I am the devil. Dance. The heck was that? Okay, and that's actually what they titled the episode was I Am the Devil Dance, because that was weird. Now, I know I was talking to you about this where we were at the old jail and there's intelligent hauntings and there's residual hauntings. For people to understand, residual hauntings are the same thing happens every night at 3:00. Intelligent hauntings are things actually start talking to you and can communicate with you. Like in this one, we were at the jail, and if you haven't learned, I have a sense of humor. You haven't watched the show enough. So we were going upstairs. There were 3 of us, 3 of the guys. We used to split off the guys and the girls. And we were heading upstairs, which was the woman's holding cell. And you'll hear me joking around.
Ladies, we're coming up. There's 3 men. Continue, sir.
I mean, literally, it says, hire Steve Hodgson. I mean, come on, not only you know my first name, you know my last name. Okay, that's a pretty intelligent haunting that was in that place. And
Ladies, we're coming up. There's 3 men. Continue, sir.
Unbelievable. Now, this was in the jail also, and this was about 1:00 in the morning. And it was down the gangway of the jail, when you walked into the guard to come in. And listen to this whole little piece here.
Wow.
I mean, there's an entire conversation this little girl has. Now, going back the history of the jailer lived there with his wife and little daughter inside the upstairs. There was bedrooms upstairs, and they lived upstairs. Where did that come from? Absolutely out of nowhere. And we have some little validity to that later in the video, so you'll see. In Poatstown, we were all sitting, there's this room called the Shadow Room, and all these different shadows would, in pitch black, you would see things moving around. Absolutely incredible. I mean, you say how you had to be in there to see it. But we were all inside the room. The girls were at the other end of the school upstairs.
Wow.
Now, it cuts really quick because YouTube would not allow me to use the language that came out of my mouth instantaneously. Okay, but Did you hear that scream?
Yeah.
It was like right outside the door of this room, and we ran outside the room after I used some choice words like "what," and
Yeah.
we went outside and we looked everywhere. We looked out in the parking lot to see if there was nobody out in the parking lot. Nothing. So, and there's supposed to be a little girl who fell down the steps
Oh.
inside that school. So is that, and that's actually right around the wall from where that stairwell was. So now there's a theater in right outside of Columbus, and I don't want to say the name of the place, but we caught this 7 times during the night on different recorders.
Wow.
Play it again. Oh, okay. Now I don't want to play it again. It's that special. That scream was 7 different times we heard this. Now, there's this one. Somebody's asking, what is heaven?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a sad thing. Now, I think this is the last of the audio, and this is a very interesting one. I got to set this up. This was at a house that was outside of North Vernon. We did 4 investigations in this house. Okay, the people that were renting the place there were completely baffled by the things going on there. Whatever was there liked men and would take over men, for that matter. It was real possessive stuff, to the point where the police, if they were called, would not come into that house. They would stand outside, and if the wife said, my husband's acting strange, he's got a gun, so they would not come into the house because they had heard about this home for years. Okay, now we were doing an investigation, and the first investigation, full one we did with him, he was acting up so bad and stuff that we had to call the investigation halfway through it because he was making noise, blasting TVs and everything else. He didn't, whatever it was, didn't want us there and was answering through him. So they agreed to let us do an investigation. They would leave for the night.
Yeah.
Okay. And we would just lock up when we were leaving and give them a call. Well, they left and they came back at 11:30 because they were going to stay in a hotel, and he had to come back and get something. And he went upstairs, got something, and then we're all downstairs talking, our investigators and him. Now we had it was an old servant's quarters upstairs and everything else. This recorder picked this up, and this one still gives me goosebumps to this very day. Okay, now you hear voices talking. That's us downstairs because we didn't know we were recording something. The voice is a little girl that says, "I want my mommy." And then you'll hear a series of slaps. Those slap sounds are not any of us. That's from them upstairs. And he's yelling, "Shut up! Shut up!" as he's slapping. And the kids, "Oh, mommy!" at the end. And I'll play it again after hearing that now. That is one of the freakiest pieces of audio I have ever gotten in my life. That house, it's funny because before I had moved, I had to go see a client up that way. I had to pass there. And I actually turned down that area to go down and drove past the house. And there was a woman outside the house because I know the house has been sold. And there was a woman there, and I really was this close to stopping and to talk to her for a second. And then I say, wait a minute, let's be real. If she hasn't had anything, here's some guy with a New York accent stopping, talking to her, asking her about paranormal activity in her home and all this. I just couldn't do it. And I knew the minister of the church that she went to. He was a close friend of mine when he lived in Westport. And he asked her, and they said, when he asked her the question, they got very quiet and walked away.
Mm.
They did not want to discuss what was going on in their house. Now, there is one more. We took a break in the middle of an investigation. It was up north of Indy, and guy had a pit bull. Okay, a pit bull that if it stood up was taller than me, and I'm a good 6'1". So okay, so I don't like big dogs like that. Period. Even if they're the most friendliest dog, mind you, was a pit bull, and he left it on a leash outside the house. Okay, we took a break, and I had the recorder was still in my pocket. I forgot I still had a recorder in my pocket, so that's why it may sound a little weird. But we went outside, and he was playing with the dog, and he goes, "No, the dog's okay. The dog wants to play with you guys." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll take it off the leash." Oh, you don't want to take it off the leash, okay? It's like, no, really, okay. It's a very friendly dog, okay. I want you to hear. This is what happened in the real time. There's a voice, and it was on the recorder that said, "Get out of the dog's way." And this dog, the moment he let off the leash, took a lunge for my face.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Wow.
literally, I give myself some credit that I have reflexes because as it jumped up, I literally pushed it away, and then he tackled the dog and put the dog on its collar. He's like, it never did that before. And I was like, that's why I said don't take the dog off the leash. Okay, yeah, it wasn't crazy. Okay, there's a reason for that. But okay, fine. I did not know until I heard the audio back that it was actually something was warning me to get out of the dog's way. So I don't know if the dog was going for me or was going for something else. And I still remember that dog freaking coming at me. Okay. I still have a very vivid recollection. To the day I die, I'll be laying in the hospital bed remembering that dog running at me. So we're going to go to a couple of quick pieces of video here. And this opens up into 4 videos here. Because remember I said we had a 4-channel DVR. But I want you to watch channel number 1, where see my mouse is there. Now, we're all the way at the other side of the house doing an investigation. And all of a sudden, the camera just literally flings to one side. Now, we don't know this is happening. Okay? I have not a clue that this is happening. Right on this side of the mirror, we started seeing things from the back room. One of our investigators said, it looks like there's like a light or something outside.
Yeah.
I was like, well, we got a camera pointed right at it. Okay, we'll be able to see it if there is. Now, so let's even go along with the fact that, sometimes your tripods move. The thing is like tight. I have never seen a tripod do this.
Oh, man.
On its own. Okay, there's just no way tripods don't go to one side and then flip back to the other side. Okay, so there was something that was there, and it did not want us to see what was going on in there, and did not want us to see that at all. So that's pretty cool. Okay, now the house I told you, that honeymoon.
Yeah.
To see me sitting here and Jake was sitting like right here. And I want you to watch the fireplace. The fireplace is not on. As you see, I got a short sleeve shirt. It was summertime. And it does it again. Nobody's taking pictures or anything. And they were having activity in the other room, so we didn't even see it. And then at one point, something actually passed right in between Jake and I with that black mist that I'm telling you about. That Jake and I couldn't even see each other. Now, this came from Jen's cousin. I almost said my cousin, but she's my cousin. Okay, who I know very, very well, and they don't, very religious couple, they don't play game. There was stuff happening. There's one, I didn't put the video, but you see the ball moving across the floor. But this was the second one she sent me. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
let's
that's
be real.
crazy.
The things just don't move on their own like that. Okay, and that was actually very, very strange. Same with the door just closing on its own.
That's crazy.
Unfortunately, she moved before we got a chance to visit this house. Now, this was one that was in Osgood.
Okay.
I want you to watch the wires on the stairs. Okay, nobody is downstairs. We're all upstairs at the time.
Oh, that's so weird.
The wires are just moving on their own. That was inside that house. That was a very strange home. See, it's going to play it again. For some reason, it plays everything twice. But you'll see, like right over here, that's going to move. See, both.
Yeah.
It moves and stuff, and then moves again. Okay, you see, you have to have a sense of humor when you do investigations. Okay, this gentleman called us. He lived north of Indy, somewhere up there, and he said he had activity going on in his house. Now, first off, in the first 15 minutes that we were there, he drank a 6-pack of beer
Okay.
by himself. Okay, he kept offering me beer, and it's like, dude, I got to drive. Okay, no, I'm not going to drink like that. He doesn't smoke cigarettes. Now, we had a camera, as you'll see this. Jen said that somebody else has said, and I'm sitting right here on the couch. Watch around this dude. You see all that stuff moving around his head and stuff. I mean, I have no clue what that was. See, it's still going around, whatever it is that's there. See, I even slowed it down for it so you'd see it. This gentleman, at one point, he's like, "Can I do an EVP session?" And it's like, "This is your house. Ask her whatever you want." And he starts talking to the thing. He's like, "You wanted me to bring them here so you could eat them." He said, "So they're here. If you want to eat them, you can eat." And we're like sitting in the living room looking at each other like, the hell did he just say?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah. Brought him here so we can eat you. Okay. And it's like, okay, this guy was a little off his rock. Now there's a place called Thornhaven Manor. That's I'm trying to think of where it's at. If you go up State Road 3 towards Rushville up that way, this place is here. We had investigated there a number of times. Actually, your brother is responsible for us investigating here because the guy who bought the place, Steve, was a patient of your brother's.
Oh, okay.
And he was talking about there was activity going on in this place. He said, I got to find like a paranormal group. And Adam was like, well, here. And he hands him the card.
Yeah.
So we actually investigated here like 3 times before Ghost Adventures actually came down and investigated there. But one of the times, there was a film crew that had contacted me, and they were following us around in some places. And I called Steve up, the other Steve, and said, hey, it's okay if we bring this film crew with us. And he's like, yeah, because they work for PBS. So we're like, yeah, okay, this, he's thinking, wow, this will get us on the map and everything else. There is an old servant stairwell right off to the side here. And Jen and I are all sitting in the living room. and she's asking a bunch of questions. And this voice on the step says, "Stop asking questions." Okay, and this is what happened to the camera that was inside the room a second later. I mean,
That's
actually, it was a loud thump because you'll see us actually see it's moved around. And I think if it stays on long enough, you'll hear us come into the room because we heard the loud thump and stuff. And we came in, the camera crew all got up and started running. And I stayed there with Steve. And Steve's like, yes. Okay. See, we all came in like, what was that?
Wow.
Okay. That had hit inside that room. It was absolutely an interesting thing. Now, this is in Osgood. A friend of mine owns a house there, and he asked us to investigate. I want you to watch that door in the corner. Now, we had all gone out by the timestamp. We had all gone outside to take a break. We were outside. No one was in the house.
It's insane. How does that happen?
Okay, so now you think it happens once. We go back upstairs, and when we were investigating again, and we said, "Gee, door's open." So we closed. No one even thought anything of it. Okay.
Yeah.
This one here is not that one. This one is now. If you look at timestamp, that was 9 something. This is 11:08. Again, nobody's in the house.
Oh man.
The kids did not want to sleep in that room
I
because
don't
they
know,
said
but
they
I would
kept
want to
hearing.
either.
Well, no, not because of that, but they would hear
Oh,
stuff all night long. Chairs would move around in the room. I mean, it's really freaky stuff when you look at it.
yeah.
This was up in Indy. It's actually honest up in Indy. This woman worked upstairs for a lawyer's office, and she lived in the apartment downstairs. And she had activity going on, and she's standing there, and literally where this camera is, I'm sitting maybe about 2 feet from it. So is Robin from her. And she's talking to us and looking forward. I want you to watch around her waist. She got literally slammed into the dresser that's behind her. Now, at first, when I first watched it, I said, well, she was rocking a little bit, and she like fell backwards. But then again, now I'm going to tell you, watch this area here. You see it? The whole hip area gets pulled backwards. Whatever it was pulled her into the thing. And what was really strange was she had her mother and father's ashes in the house, but put them into one urn and mixed them together. And there was a bunch of stuff that was going on inside the house. And she hit that thing hard, let me tell you, because I jumped about 2 feet when she stepped into it. And I remember Robin looking at me like, what? Okay, what happened? Now, this is the hallway in the jail where that little girl's voice was. I've investigated the jail 7, 8 times. Okay, that place never, ever ceases to amaze me. This has only happened once there. Okay, video camera's running.
Oh wow.
A woman in the dress comes out of nowhere and walks through the wall.
That is insane. Wow.
Absolutely insane. We'll watch it again. We'll see. Out of nowhere. Is it running here? Okay, yeah, it is now. Oh, okay. It's like the person stands up and walks right across, and you can still see them going through the wall. It's absolutely incredible. Now, I thought that was really an incredible thing. This is the kitchen that's off the jail. This is where they used to make the meals, and right here is the slot they used to open up, and they would pass the meals into the jail area
Okay.
that was there. This happened the same night and only happened once.
Oh.
But wait, it's not one person.
Whoa. Oh, wow. That's like 5 or 6.
At least coming through that. And it still is coming through it.
Yeah.
And I checked the timestamps of this, and all of us, there were 4 of us, and we were all upstairs. Okay, now the other side of the building upstairs, no one was on the main floor. Absolutely unreal. Now, this is also the jail. This is the lead to upstairs.
Okay.
Okay? Know where we all were. We were all in a room off to, the right-hand side of this image. There's a living room there. And we were all sitting in the living room. That's what the camera picked up. Now, also notice on the wall, there's something moving around there. Okay,
Yeah.
but now I pause, you'll see it pause, and I go back and would play frame by frame.
What is that? That's
I have no clue to this very day what that is. And that is again in real time. But as you notice, even wires are moving around, everything is moving around from whatever it was that's there. And there's a doorway actually to walk into the residence part is right behind where the camera is actually backed up against the doorway. So there's no way somebody came in and did that. It was summertime. Well, it wasn't summertime, it was November, but it wasn't cold. It was like, one of those warmer days.
Yeah.
And stuff in there, and absolutely unbelievable. So that is
man.
some evidence that we've never seen. So like I said at the beginning, if in the when we started this, in the comment section, if you now have a different opinion of the paranormal and what's out there, and I mean, I even have more stuff. I would just have to dig for it. I actually cheated. I went back to some of the presentations I did, and I know I had a folder of the stuff, so
Uh-huh.
I grabbed them out of the folder. Audio wise, I probably have about 2,000 pieces of audio.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's a lot.
Yeah. And video, you don't catch a lot on video, but when you do, it's great. We've had cameras shut off on us.
Yeah.
We were in this one house in Kentucky, and I remember we were all sitting in the basement, and I literally saw something walk across the top of the stairs. I was like, well, that's good because I got a camera pointing right up the stairwell.
Yeah.
No, the camera was shut off.
No.
Yeah, the camera got shut off, so we never caught the thing that was going across. And you tell me what you want. Coincidence, we stopped using that word after a while because there's just too much stuff that you start to see.
Yeah.
So, we always called it exploring the unknown because that's really what it was. I can't tell you what it was. Scientists can't tell you what it is because, even parapsychology, which, would lean a little bit towards, they want you to be there for a month. Every single night. Sorry, I got a life and a job. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And my job isn't a parapsychologist. I get paid to be there. So that's not going to happen. But, I know that the stuff that's happened there was real. We were there for every single bit of it. I saw it with my own 2 eyes, 90% of it. And, I picked out, I was the one listening to audio because lucky thing working as a web designer, I could design websites with headphones on.
Yeah.
So I could listen back to hours every day, the 4 or 5 hours of audio from an investigation because I was working. I don't have to look at it. I only would stop if I heard something and went back and ran it back. So, so belief in the paranormal, whether it's ghosts, spirits, or something beyond, could be fascinating, frightening, and deeply personal. For some, it brings comfort. For others, it raises questions that linger in the quiet. But whether or not these experiences are spiritual or psychological, they are real in how they affect us. Always remember that. Our stories, fears, and questions, they all deserve to be heard, and heard without shame or judgment. So,
Absolutely.
for many, many years, people would not talk about what was going on in their house. I said, if anything else, being on TV and having those shows on TV helped bring these people out. And I
Yeah.
remember talking to Grant and Jason at a Paracon, and we used to be at a lot of the Paracons. And I remember telling him about that. He said, hey, think about us. He said, we were a couple of plumbers that used to work for Roto-Rooter doing this
Yep.
stuff. You can imagine what people were saying about us. I mean, people would call Roto-Rooter and request we didn't come to their
Wow.
house because they were afraid of stuff. So I get it. So listen, if something's haunting you, inside or out, remember this, you're not alone and you're not broken. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Your Life Matters Show podcast tonight. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead, share it, leave a comment, or just send a link to a friend who might need it, or even enjoys the paranormal. They're really, hey, did you see this the other night? Steve was showing this. Okay, please remember to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. I don't remember what the numbers are, but we're close to like 2,500. I'd like to keep growing on that. Okay, and it only takes
3,000.
yeah, exactly. And it only takes a few seconds, and it really does help the channel, not monetarily, but it actually puts us up in, their search engine a little bit so that you find stuff. So until next week, remember this is exact. Remember, this is a place where every episode's a journey into our heart of what truly matters: your health, your experience, the issues shaping our world, everything that's affecting your life today. So whether you're seeking inspiration, advice, or simply a moment of reflection, we hope this podcast will be a compass for navigating that beautiful life we all should be living. Remember, be kind to your thoughts, be open to the truth, and above all, take care of you. Okay, stay hopeful and remember your story matters, your journey matters, and above all, please never forget your life matters.
Right.
God bless you all, and we truly hope to see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this week's new episode of the Your Life Matters Show podcast. Please be sure to join us again next week for another great episode with your host Steve Hodgson and psychotherapist Dr. Eric L. Davis. Please remember to subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so, and hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode. Your help with this helps us reach a wider audience that may need our help. Remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you are valuable and important. Take time to cherish yourself and those around you. Never forget, your life matters.